Welcome to a Friday night episode of Taking It to the Nub. I'm your host, Boston Jimmie. And tonight, as always, I try to bring in a guest when they're available. John Garofalo, he is going to be a great guest. From what I understand about this gentleman, he's been in the business for a little while. He's into many other things. He's almost kind of a Renaissance man in his own right. But we're going to bring John in just a moment.
And today's show is brought to you by Casa Cuevas Cigars. In the 19th century, Juan Cuevas, Spanish immigrant from Santander, began what was to be a family business which now spans 4 generations. Like others fortunate enough to live and work in Pinar del Rio province of Cuba, Juan commenced cultivating tobacco, turning it into a successful business. Following in his father's footsteps, his son Juan Jr. continued with the family business, successfully expanding it until events which took place in 1959 forced a dramatic change. Years later, in the Ciabo Valley of the Dominican Republic, Luis Cuevas Sr., Juan Jr.'s son, carried on the family tradition of handcrafting fine cigars in the family's cigar factory, Tabacalera Las Lavas. Today, Luis Sr. is joined by his son Luis Jr. in the manufacturing and sale of premium long filler cigars at their factory, Tabacalera Las Lavas in Santiago, Dominican Republic. So check out Casa Cuevas Cigars at www.casacuevascigars.com and on their Instagram and Facebook channels.
All right. Let's bring John in and get this show rolling. All right. So as Romeo Lombardi would say, Big John, how you doing?
Good evening. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. So happy you could join. I'm glad we were able to get together on a Friday night. It's a rare night for me to do the show.
I appreciate it.
And of course, I lost my mind there somewhere. My button clicks didn't do what I wanted them to do. Live shows are always fun. But we're going to fix some of that. I got some new platform stuff I'm working on, and
nice.
Things are going to get cleaner in the very near future.
Okay. Well, I'll look better than the next time you have me, so I promise.
Oh, everybody's gonna look better in the new stuff. I'm gonna, I'll make everybody dress up right.
There you go.
Kevin Gold also, Kevin Schweitzer says, "What about every other day?" Kevin from
I know who they are.
Cigars.
I don't know them, but I know who they are.
Okay, so they're chiming in right now. So Romeo and Kevin are on, and a few others will be starting to join. So. John G. the third. So what was like it growing up to be John G. the third versus the junior or the first, would you think?
Well, in an Italian American household, I'm a first generation. So my parents were born overseas. So John, of course, the masculine named after my father, after my grandfather. It would be like, mom or grandma would yell, "Hey, John," and, 3, 4, 5 cousins named John. I mean, it's all good. I mean, I think as a kid, and I think this is probably true about a lot of things in life, right? I mean, as a kid, it doesn't mean a lot to you. And then as you get a little older, it means more to you. And then as you get even older and those people are no longer present in your life, I think it takes on even more value in the heart. You know what I mean? It's So I would say
So
that it's good.
is there a John the Fourth?
There is not. I'm blessed with three wonderful kids. I have two girls and one boy. So, and my boy is not named John, which was, it's okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
I
you
would have liked it
stopped.
had there been had one of my girls been a boy, there would have been a John. But
Mm-hmm.
it's all good. I love my kids. So, in fact,
Awesome.
like we were talking a little bit, some of my cigars are named after my kids. So,
Yes, in fact, I am smoking the Arc, right? I believe that was what it was.
part of my
Yes.
Angel line, yes. So the
Yep.
Angels are named after my three kids. The Angels is part of my core line. It comes in three blends, a Connecticut, a Habano, and a Maduro. You're smoking the Maduro, which was named after my son Michael, the Archangel. So,
Right. Now, when I introduced you to the show,
oh,
you may not have heard it, but
I
I
did
kind
not.
of described you. I know it's always good because nobody knows what I tell the world when they're
Great.
sitting in the green
Okay, I'm
room.
holding on. Go ahead.
I know I kind of mentioned it. You're kind of like a little bit of a Renaissance man. You got these guitars behind you, so you're obviously an accomplished musician, or you want to be, or you just like to collect guitars.
Yes to
You
both.
wrote a book, all
Oh,
right,
the
that's
book isn't
coming out
complete, but yes, I'm
soon.
writing a book. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You own a cigar shop, yes?
I do.
And what else did you do or are you doing that, pay the bills?
Yeah. So look, I appreciate the answer. And it's funny that if you did introduce me or reference to me as a Renaissance man, it's something that also is near and dear to me. My mom and my grandmother used to refer to me as a Renaissance man through most of my life, even as a
Oh,
young man. So it's kind of I'm greatly flattered by that. If and when you get to know me, and anybody that does know me knows that I'm not one who sits still very easily. Um, and I'm this kind of guy that is I'm either all in or I'm not in at all. Um, so I mean, I've been playing guitar and playing music since I was a little boy. I'm still part of two touring uh, acts that tour up and down the East Coast.
oh,
I'm a lead vocalist and a guitar player. So that's an active part of my life. I started in the retail side. I've been a hobbyist in the cigar side for a long time. I mean, 30, 40 years as a hobbyist.
okay. So I was
And
going to ask you that. So that's a good question right
yeah,
there. I was thinking
yeah,
about that.
we can certainly get back to that. Then only recently got into the mix as a brick and mortar retailer, and then and I really enjoy that space as well. And then started getting really what we're smoking tonight. You're smoking our Arc. I'm actually smoking a prototype. This is a Colorado Claro wrapper that I'm thinking about for a future
Oh,
blend. And I'm a total cigar geek. So, uh, but I got into the ENEBES piece or the blending side of it really by accident. I started as a private label for my store and stores. I am building a second store. Um, we haven't broke ground yet, but we will be soon. And got into the cigar making side of it really by accident as just private label. And then just because I have a lot of friends that are in cigar circles, they were like, "Hey, we know how picky you are. We know how discerning you are. I would love to sell your cigars." And I was like, hmm, that kind of got me thinking. And then, of course, because I'm either all in or not at all, I jump into the deep end of the pool and I become a cigar maker without ever really knowing what the hell being a cigar maker is. So it's been an interesting learning curve for sure.
so you created okay. So a lot to unpack there for a second. Um, let's talk a little bit about the shop. So how long has the shop been running now?
I opened up the shop in the summer of 2020, which was in the middle of COVID, because
Oof.
I'm a brilliant businessman.
You and
Yeah,
a lot of other people
when I
survived
signed my
this.
when I signed my contract, and I was had made the decision to do this, COVID was not even a word that we used, right? So,
Mhm.
there was no turning back. Opened up the brick and mortar store in the summer of 2020. We're located in Monmouth County, New Jersey, which is that's my home state. Uh, I am literally in between. I'm in a very, very competitive market, believe it or not. I have, I think, no less than 8 cigar stores less than 10 miles away from my place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's okay. And it's grown really well. I mean, we continue to grow and grow. We've every month we're growing month over the same, so we're doing well. So the retail business has been in place now 3.5 years. It'll be 4 years this summer.
Okay, so 4 years the shop.
Yep.
You've been smoking and enjoying cigars as a consumer for about 30 years, you said?
Yeah, probably closer to 40, but yeah, 35, 39.
So pretty much your whole life, other than your childhood.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm 60 years old, but I'm
Well, yeah, right. I
sure.
mean, teenage going into, 20s and then so did you grow up around people with cigars? Was it a popular thing around you and the
Actually,
family, your
no.
grandfather, your father?
My grandfather, again, being Italian American, he would smoke those old little, the DeNoblies. But
Stogies, man.
he was a big pipe smoker too.
Okay.
Um, my father was a cigarette smoker, but no, there were no real cigars. Were not a there was no presence really of cigars in my life until I became an adult. And I'm trying to think, in that classic kind of young adult, bachelor party, wedding thing,
Right.
it was slowly integrated into that space. And then it was like, wow, and I really kind of like this. And then started to learn and evolve and do research. And, back then there was no internet. It was, brick and mortar was everything.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how I kind of got into it. And I've enjoyed it, and it's been a passion of mine. I really love what the cigar community means. Although I think that could get me down a path that we might not want to go down, because I think the cigar industry is more smoke than fire in some cases. Um, but I believe in the community, and I believe in the brotherhood and sisterhood of cigars a lot.
And I think that's the important part of it. There's something special about walking into a lounge, and there are some lounges that I've been to that I would say are a little stuffy, a little kind of too incl, incl, exclusive instead of
Yep.
inclusive, and you kind of feel out of place when you walk in. But
Yep.
those are far and few between. Most lounges I go in around the country and around the world. Um, People sit down there. Hey, what are you smoking? What are you doing? Where you from? Next thing you know, if you need to know something, you want to know where the best pizza is or the best hoagie or whatever, they're going to tell you because that's the place to find out because we know everything.
Well, that's for sure. I mean, the cigar lounge, and my store is I do have a lounge in my store. I don't charge for the use of my lounge. I'm a retailer, and a retailer primarily, but I do have a very comfortable lounge. But the cigar lounge culture I think is a pretty unique one. I think every cigar store has a very unique genetic composition about them. I try
Right.
to make our lounge to be drama free, click free. But it's funny, and just a sidebar. So my wife owns a hair salon, and for years before I was in the cigar business, I would have to listen to her talk to me about the gossip and the drama and the drama and the gossip, and I would just, as a loving husband, you're like, okay, yeah, yeah, okay. And then I started, and I opened up my store, and I had a lounge, and I was like, holy crap. I mean, so to me, the cigar store is the male version of the hair salon.
Yeah,
Um,
it sounds like a barber shop.
it's
It's
exactly.
it's just
Exactly.
everybody's chatting about everything and under the sun.
Yep, for sure.
Now, when you now you talked about setting up house brands. So originally, were the house brands your fingers on the blend, or was it one of those things where you got different trays of things and you figure stuff out, or did you actually conceive the blends for your house blend?
So I would say probably a little bit of both, because the house blend started before COVID happened, and then launched during COVID, right? So if
Okay.
you throw, the intention was to have my hands on the blends from the beginning throughout, but then the world took a pretty significant hard right, and the way we did business was altered, right? So what could be done in the factory in a week was now taking months because of the back. And tools like Zoom are great, and but sending samples and trying them, and a little bit of here, a little left there, a little right, or a little that, it took a lot longer. So the answer to your question is kind of a little bit of both.
Okay. All right. And now, as you've progressed, you now have come out with these blends. And let me just share this screen. So when I did the article on your press release,
Okay.
all right, we had
Thank you, by
put
the
up
way.
all the oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So let me just drop this share over here for a second, and we
Sure.
can walk through this a little bit.
Sure.
So as you look at this, okay, so we have a number of different series
Yep.
of cigar lines. So the
Yep.
first one, signature series, private blends. Okay, just talk about, is that two different things? Is it like the private blend became the signature series?
Yeah, so there's less rhyme or reason to the how and why than you're probably thinking. If we were to go to if I were to go from the beginning to where we are now, I started off with our what is now our Angel series. So I
Okay.
started off with three blend. Actually,
If I drop down to the Angels,
yeah,
there we
yeah.
go,
So,
the
yep,
Angels.
yep,
All right. So we got Bianca, Arc, and Monk. So let's
correct.
talk about those.
Yep. And when I started this endeavor, ENEBES TABAC didn't even exist, right? I had this other name, and my cigars had another band on them with a different name. So uh, it was a very, very weird time when I started. And again, you jump in the deep end of the pool, and I made lots of mistakes, but that's okay. The cigars are the same. But now what you're seeing is the ENEBES. And when the first launch came out, I was very aggressive. I actually came out with 5 blends. I came out with a Connecticut, which you see, a Maduro, which you see, a Habano, which you see. I had a Sumatra blend as well, and I had a Cameroon blend, which now are no longer. I have another Sumatra blend, but those 2 blends have been shelved. And now what you see is my core line is my Angel series, Connecticut, Maduro, and Habano.
So when I look at okay, so these are interesting. I'm looking forward to trying these. The Bianca, all
Yeah.
right,
Mm-hmm.
all right, Ecuadorian Connecticut,
Yep.
Ecuadorian binder.
Yep.
Then we've got Jalape, Ometepe, and Piloto Cubano.
Yep. And Esteli.
That's a rather bold filler on
Yes
that
and no. I mean,
Ecuadorian Connecticut.
some of it is.
The Ometepe for sure.
Yeah, some
Right?
Ometepe. I mean, remember that
I mean,
Ometepe.
flavorful. I mean, you got that. That's not a Connecticut that's going to sit there and taste like paper. I could tell you that just by looking at that blend,
No,
right? That's a good thing. So I appreciate when people really start experimenting, putting interesting fillers into Connecticut wrap cigars because it adds that little extra. Doesn't have to be off the top, like you say. It's
I
probably
agree
mild to medium, but gives you good flavor, right?
for sure. Yeah. So the goal was, I apologize. Go away. Um, the goal really was to, and it's funny because a friend of mine, a colleague anyway, said to me that the Connecticut cigar would be my most challenging because everybody has a Connecticut, and you have to make the Connecticut has to identify. It has to identify, right? Like you just can't make, and pardon my French, you can't make a shitty Connecticut cigar. Um, so the Connecticut cigar, I wanted it to be, and I hate the expression of it's not your grandfather's, like leave my grandfather out of it. Like the
Well,
guy,
it's not John Garofalo's,
not no
Connecticut.
cigar. It's like leave him out of it. Okay, but like I wanted a cigar that was, because to me, I love Connecticut wrapper cigars. I mean, I like them a lot, But what I found with a lot of Connecticut cigars was that by the time I was halfway through the cigar, I didn't want to smoke it anymore because it lost my interest. And I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of Connecticut cigars I find to be incredibly boring. And by the way, you might smoke my Connecticut cigar and find it boring, and that's okay. But I really wanted to blend this cigar to have enough, not cojones, it's not a strong cigar, but I wanted it to have enough flavor through its evolution that it kept my interest. And I think that I've achieved that. And I hope that
So
makes
when
sense.
it does. Now, if I scroll down and share this again, the next one is the one that I am actually smoking right now, which is
Dark.
the Angel's Arc.
Yep.
And by the way, before we started the show, you actually brought up the reason for the names.
Yes.
So maybe you could explain the three names. So the names of the angels are Bianca, Arc, and Monk. Can you
Correct.
explain to the audience what
Sure.
that means?
Sure. So the Angel series, as we call it, is named after my three children. And to me, my family is everything, right? So my youngest daughter's name is Bianca, so that was an easy transition. That was an easy one to name. Connecticut rapper worked well. The Arc that you're smoking, which is a box pressed, all the other ones are round. That I named after my son, whose name is Michael. And if you know anything about religion, Michael is the archangel. So I named that cigar instead of calling it Michael. I named it the Arc. And then my Habano, which has a blue foot at the base of a blue band at the base of the cigar with the word monk on it. That was named after my oldest daughter, whose name is Christina, but ever since she was a little girl, we would call her Monkey, so we just called it the Monk to try to keep this kind of semi-religious
Right.
thing going on.
Very, very cool. Everybody loves to hear these concepts. I mean, everybody's got a reason for bands, reason for names of their cigars. That story is a fabulous story. You're giving,
Thank you.
paying tribute to your children. Um, the
Well,
arc,
the name ENEBES TABAC is kind of a funny story too, because that name happened by accident.
well, tell me that story. I'll come back on you now. Hold on. I was gonna get to that
Okay.
eventually, but
You
you
want to
broke
you want to
you
pivot to
broke
that
the
now?
ice. So we can pivot quickly to that.
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
because
So, when I first started in the business as making a cigar, I thought when I had these friends that said, "Oh, I want to sell your cigar and I want to," great. So through a friend, I was introduced to Dave Garofalo, no relation to me. Dave is a very well-known, highly successful entrepreneur in the cigar business. He owns a fabulous chain of stores and an online store up in New Hampshire. He also owns United Cigar, and he runs the Cigar Authority podcast. I was introduced to him. He We took a shine to each other. He invited me to be on his podcast, which I was really honored to do. And he carried some of my cigars when I first launched my brand. So I go up to New Hampshire, I do the podcast, and we're smoking what is now my Monk cigar. And it's myself, and I had no name for my company, by the way. It was myself, Dave, and his right-hand man. And the right-hand man has said to me, what I love about your cigar is that you're not trying to change my life. You're not trying to convince me that your cigar is going to change my life. And we kind of laughed because that's really how I am as a cigar maker. I'm a cigar geek. I make cigars for me and for whoever's interested. I'm not looking to be the biggest. I'm not looking to be the best. So I want to make a good cigar at a fair price and put it in the hands of people that'll appreciate it. So Dave said, yeah, it's a good cigar. It's no bullshit. It's just really well made and it's priced really well. So now we finished the podcast. It was great. I have a 6-hour ride home, and I promised myself that I would come up with a name for my damn company because I didn't want it to go like what's the no name brand, right? So I'm sitting there going through the whole iteration. It's a good cigar and it's well made and and I keep going back to no bullshit, and it's a no bullshit cigar, and I'm kind of stuck on no bullshit, and then I'm thinking to myself, no bullshit, NBS, 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 NB, NBS, NBS. I made up the word, man. I just took the N, the B, and the
That's
S.
a made up word.
Completely made up word. I took the N, the B, and the S from no bullshit. I put two E's in between them. I put a little accente on it, and ENEBES TABAC was born. And that's a gospel true story. I mean, uh,
Wow.
and
Wow, that
it's
is
kind of funny because
cool.
it kind of is who we are. Like we're just this kind of no bullshit little company that I'm not trying to be in every store. I just want to make a good cigar. So the no bullshit thing kind of was a little cheeky, as my marketing guy calls it, but it's totally us. And
Love it.
and Dave Garofalo was the guy who was he doesn't even know. I haven't talked to him in 2.5 years. He doesn't even know, but he was my inspiration.
That's awesome. Those are the kind of stories that should stick. And yeah, I'm just trying to think of more ways that you can use that and just like
You think of something,
just
let me
keep
know.
promoting it. I will.
Yeah,
And
totally made up
I'll
word.
talk to you. I'll talk to you offline about something that's that I'm doing, and you'll understand where I'm
Okay.
going with it.
Yeah, it was a totally made up word. So there we were off to the races. Yeah, and another little quick sidebar. So when I was with Dave and I was saying to him, like I got to come up with a name, and I was thinking of calling it like Juan something or else like Juan Esteban Cigars or something like that. And he just went like this to me, and I was like, what? What's wrong with that? He goes, let me tell you something. At some point, you're gonna have to produce somebody by the name of Juan Esteban.
Juan,
And
yes,
if you don't, you're going to look like a couple of gringos being cute. And I said, you know what? That was
he's
brilliant.
absolutely right.
Oh, that again. It's like I've made lots of mistakes, right? I mean, I continue to make lots of mistakes, but I learn everything I do. I learn, and that was just brilliant advice.
Well, you're like, like Thomas Edison. You keep trying to make a light bulb. Eventually, you're going to get
There
it.
you go. I keep trying to make a cigar.
There you go. Well, let's talk about cigars again.
Yes.
So we come back here. So,
Yep. So that we talked
okay,
about
so
my
the
core
arc.
line.
Okay, so we have the arc, the Angel's Arc. We explained what the names mean.
Yep.
The arc has essentially the same as the Bianca, except for the Pilato Cubano and the wrapper, obviously. But there's a slightly different. Oh, this is an Ecuadorian binder. It's not an Ecuadorian Habano binder
Correct.
on the Bianca.
Correct. Correct. And just because just because the regions in the arc are similar to the
Mm-hmm.
Bianca, they are vastly different tobaccos, obviously.
Different proportions, I'm sure.
Yeah, mostly different leaves. I mean, they're not. If you look in the cross section of the cigar, and in the Bianca, you'll see you'll see a lot of that mild or lighter leaf, where in the arc it's a very rich chocolatey, and the flavor on the arc. You're smoking it, so
Oh, yeah, I'm
I hope
getting
you're
that
enjoying it.
chocolately, rich, dark notes, earthy,
Yeah,
chocolatey
it's got
notes on it.
again, and it's funny, not haha funny, but like when I blended that cigar and I had a lot of help, um, I didn't, like there's so many Maduros out there, and it's just like how do you make? And there are so many cigar brands out there, big, small, bigger. Everybody's bigger than me. I mean, I'm the smallest of the small, but it's like there's so many great cigars out there. How do you make your cigar different? And so, it tastes a lot like this and similar to that, but I mean,
I smoke thousands of cigars a year, well over 1,000 easily. And I've been running my blog now for over 10 years. And I've been smoking cigars long before then. And all I tell people is 80%, it's a bell curve. It's
yep,
80%. These are good cigars. Nothing
yep,
wrong with these cigars.
yep,
They're good. They're worth the value. They got flavor. This one tastes a little bit like that one, tastes a little bit like that one, tastes a little bit like that one. Then you get the 10% on the one side that are just, you probably shouldn't be in the cigar business if they're all
right,
like that,
right,
because they're not the ones you want. Then you got
yep,
the other 10%, which are the ones that are giving you extremely memorable experiences when you start to smoke it and there's a nuance of something.
Totally.
Like you're smoking that cigar and everything's going smooth and you got like, the chocolate note or a creamy note. And all of a sudden, where did the almondine come from? It's like, boom, you're like, oh. It doesn't last long,
Right.
but it's there. Or that licorice note pops in. You're like, ooh, the mint. Ooh, where the cherry. It's like
Mhm.
suddenly these notes
Yep.
come into some and they start blending in. You're like going, wow, that's nice. And the cigar is drawing perfect. And the ash is holding on long. And there's no problem with it. And you're just sitting back going, that's a phenomenal cigar. And that's in the 10% category.
Yep.
So most cigars sit in the 80%, but guess what? There's thousands of cigars on the market.
Yeah.
And every year there's more on the market.
Well, and that's why I find it, and forgive my strong language on this, but I find it a little offensive when I see people bashing brands and bashing people that are putting their heart, soul, and everything into what they're doing. Because, and I think I made a comment to you earlier, like this is why Baskin Robbins has 32 flavors, right? There's something for everybody. And the cigar might not be for me, but that doesn't mean it's not a good cigar, right? So, and you actually, Jimmie, you actually made an interesting comment, which I think is principal to everything that I do when I make a cigar, and that is you talk about that 10% being an experience. I actually think that cigar smoking as a hobby and culture is an experiential thing, and the reason why I say that is because at least most cigar smokers that I'm around, that when I decide, or let's say you and I are together and we decide, hey, let's smoke a cigar. The first thing we kind of think about is how long are we going to have to smoke it? Right? Oh, we got an hour to kill. We got 2 hours to kill. So now you start thinking about the size of the cigar. And then you think about the flavor profile that you want to smoke. So choosing to smoke a cigar, unlike say smoking a cigarette or something, there's a conscious decision made as to how long you want that experience and what you want out of that experience, right? So to me, it's all, whether it's a mediocre cigar or not, each time you smoke a cigar has a bit of a nuance or a kind of a memorability piece to it. We talk in my website, our marketing team was talking about us stopping time, and in my TikTok, some of my TikTok videos, I talk about how it's a time
Yeah,
thing.
you got a lot of clocks. I like clocks, by the way. I like clocks and like watches, and I have them all over my house.
And that's part of our theme, right? So part of our theme is a steampunk thing,
Mhm.
and it's timed. It's brought around time, and that the comment that I've made, and I'm certainly not the originator of this phrase or comment, is that a good cigar can really stop time, right? I mean, like when you smoke a cigar, and I can name, like, so I have several boxes of cigars that were all made in the years that my 3 children were born. They happen to be Cuban cigars. Okay, so my kids were born in the 80s and early 90s. When I smoke, in my oldest, unfortunately, I think I only have 5 cigars left. Um, but I have a box of Monte Cristo #2s that were made in 1989.
Nice.
That cigar, like when I light that cigar, do not talk to me. Right? It's like, so
Yeah,
time,
because
the
you're
time
you're thinking
element
about you're thinking about your son or your daughter.
and the
This
great
is a
cigar.
special cigar, and it's a great cigar.
Right? So to me, the time, I'm glad you picked up on the clocks. There's a whole timeless thing to it. And we're actually flirting around with time travel. And part of my book, like my book is about the time
We're
traveler's
gonna
guide.
get to that in a
Yeah.
moment. So
Yeah.
don't talk about
Yeah.
that
I'm not
yet.
going to go there. I'll let you go
I
there.
want to
Okay.
talk.
All
I
right.
want you to
Let's go
talk to me
back to the
about the book.
cigars. Let's go back
So
to the
get
cigars.
back into the cigars real quick.
Sorry.
That's okay. We got time. I have time. Time. It's time. That's all I have. Actually, I'm retired. All I have is time.
Okay.
So, I'll. You lost my
Unfortunately, I got to
train.
work tomorrow. Tomorrow's my Friday at the store.
It's a long weekend. Everybody said told me today. I
Yeah,
forgot.
President's
See,
weekend.
I
Well,
don't know what that's like. I
they're
have
expecting
every day.
snow here in the Northeast, so
Every day's a Saturday for me.
Good for you, my friend. You
Sorry,
deserve it.
sorry to hurt
No,
other
no, it's all
people's.
good. All right. So
So now
after,
let's go talk about signature blends for a
okay,
second. So we briefly talked about this. We jumped into the Angel. So we got signature series and private blends. You have a Speakeasy, you have a
correct.
Jekyll and a Hyde, and you have a
Right.
Gatsby.
Correct.
So were these the private blends that became your signature series?
Yeah, naming it the signature series, Jim, really, to be perfectly honest, was really just a marketing and positional thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I could have easily put the other ones that are in my art. In fact, and I'm sure he's going to listen to this tomorrow. My marketing guy and who's amazing. My CMO is an amazing guy and a longtime friend.
Yes, he is. I've been dealing with him.
Yeah, he's great. I've known Russell since I was about 8 years old, believe it or not. But I actually wanted some of the cigars that are in the signature series as part of my artisan series, but so there was no deliberate placement to that. It was really just kind of, so the three blends that are in the signature series, which is my Speakeasy, my Jekyll and Hyde, and my Gatsby, they're also in that section too because they're limited in sizes. So my Gatsby and Jekyll and Hyde only come in a Toro and a Salomon. So
Okay.
they only come in two sizes, and this is why we put these in the signature series. And then the Speakeasy comes in only one size, and that is a Toro. So we kind of put them in the signature series now that it's coming back to me. We put them there because of the limited facings, as it were.
Okay.
The Speakeasy is a proprietary blend. I could have probably look. You're no dummy. You've been around cigar guys for a long time, right? I mean, how much of this is marketing hype? Could I have shared the blends? Of course, I could have shared the blends. What I wanted people to do, the reason why I put the Speakeasy as proprietary, is I want people to
It's a secret place.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. What I really wanted people to do, like when you were dissecting, you haven't even smoked the Bianchi yet. You're smoking the Arc, and we're talking about, oh, this is from Ometepe and this is from Hapalapa. And you're already starting to compartmentalize flavor profile.
That's correct. That's correct.
So what I wanted the smoker, this is all about the experience again. What I wanted someone to like the Speakeasy, and I don't want them to have any predispositions to what that cigar is genetically comprised of.
Mm-hmm.
So I will tell you that is a 3-country blend of tobaccos. But that's all that you're going to get from me, because I want, like when I smoke that cigar, I get notes of earth and dark cherry, but everybody's palate's a little different. So
yes, it is.
That was done with some deliberation because I wanted the smoker to come up with their own thoughts as to what that cigar is made of. Does that make sense?
I like that. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's an awesome way of handling it. Plus the fact it's called a Speakeasy. That Speakeasy is that kind of secret place,
Correct.
so everything in it is secret. You got to be kind of know something, and eventually maybe you're going to learn. You might learn what it is. If your palate's good enough, you might actually discern it. You might figure it out. You might not.
And
you don't have the code.
The Gatsby is kind of a sibling to the Speakeasy. Again, the Gatsby was from that same Roaring 20s era.
Yes.
Again, let's time travel kind of thing. But the Gatsby and actually the Gatsby was born from my Angel Monk. So the Angel Monk, which is a Habano cigar, this is also has an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper on it. That's a sun-grown. It's a little stronger, this wrapper.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to stop you there for 1 second.
Okay.
Because I have to say this to every cigar manufacturer that I ever talked to.
Okay.
What does sun-grown mean to you? Because every time I go to a field, there's sun. Unless it's in shade, and I'll give you the shade. But other than that, everything else is sun-grown. I mean, most tobacco,
yeah, but
they need sun. Can't create chlorophyll without it.
but you have so sun grown is become in my opinion only, and I am certainly not an expert,
Marketing. It's
right?
marketing.
No, I think it no, I don't think it's marketing, Jimmie. I think sun grown has become a bigger category than it used to be. And I'll give you some examples. So you've heard of Rosado wrappers cigars?
Mm-hmm.
Like Fuente makes a Rosado, and there are other brands that make Rosado wrappers. That's a sun-grown wrapper. It's just grown in a different way. It's harvested in a different way. The cigar that I'm
But
prototype, the cigar that I'm
but
prototyping
the
now,
color of the Rosado is a color, and the color is
but it's a sun-grown
fermentation.
wrapper.
That's
But
fermentation. But that's fermentation. That has nothing to do with whether it's grown under the sun.
okay,
All wrapper, all cigar tobacco is green. Last time I looked in a field, I didn't see any red leaf. I didn't
they all
see
look
any
the same.
brown.
No,
They all look the same, and
yep,
there's this big bold thing in the sky that beating down on them, and they need a certain amount of
sure,
sun,
sure,
like a lot of sun to
sure.
grow. So to me, it's kind of like this weird thing. Now I get it. It's a buzz term that everybody's using, and I'm like, oh God, it's just confusing to me. It's like I've been doing this for way too long, and it's like it's taking off. More and more people use. I mean, Ashton did it with VSG, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just a pet peeve of mine. I'm
No,
sorry.
I get it. I mean, I get like the Colorado Claro wrapper that I'm playing with today is a it falls under the sun grown. If you look up Colorado Claro, it's a sun grown wrapper. It's just harvested off the plant earlier than others.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and then to your point, it's about how it's handled in the plume and how it's
Right.
treated, right? Is how long is it heated for? How long is it not? I mean, there's all these nuances. I was not to go off on a tangent, but there's the old cliche of the 200 sets of hands touch a cigar before it's made or while it's made. I think that number is low. I think it's even far more than
Like
that.
300.
It's
It
gotta
depends
be
on what you calculate in that, because
correct.
I calculate in that it's from seed to pallet or seed to shelf.
Yeah.
Okay. If you go seed to pallet, it includes the consumer.
Well, you also have the people that are making the band, the people that are
The
making the
people that are
cellophane,
making a
the people
box,
that are
the
packaging
people that
the boxes. I mean, there's
the shop
so
owner, the shop owner that puts
yeah,
it on, opens it
yeah.
up, the
So
guy that's delivering the cigars from UPS, right? They're all
so
involved in this.
so to go back to the cigar, the Gatsby cigar is a sun-grown wrapper, but it's a stronger sun-grown wrapper than say
Right.
our Monk cigar. So the Gatsby is does fall. So if somebody wants kind of a Habano cigar, um, I lean them to the. So if somebody wanted something a little bit milder, and our Monk is not a mild cigar, the Gatsby just has a little bit more spice to it. Now the monk the monk has a little bit of Pennsylvania broadleaf in the filler, which gives it a very unique little pepperiness to it.
Uh-huh.
The Gatsby does not have the Pennsylvania broadleaf in it. It has more of the sun-grown filler inside. So it's just a very different cigar, and it is stronger.
And you bring in a very interesting description on the Gatsby. I'm going to highlight it here. All right. So we're
Mhm.
talking about
Mhm.
a dance of leather, spice, earth, and dried red fruit notes.
Yep.
That's right, my jam. So I'm looking forward to smoking that. Okay.
I
I'll tell
hope
you
I
that
don't
right now.
disappoint. Yep.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, well
I love that
that's
cigar. It's one of my personal favorites from our line.
and then the last line is this artisan line.
Yep. Yep.
So the artisan line compared to the other two is the purpose. What's the purpose of the artisan line?
Just I wouldn't say smaller quantities, a little bit more unique in the look of the cigar. The Conforto that you're looking at is a barber pole. Just again, just to give you because I'm a total cigar geek. The band that you're looking at, that symbol that you see is the Zen symbol called an Una Lame, and that is the Zen
Okay,
symbol for harmony and balance. And
I
so
love it.
that cigar was born because I love smoking. I have this kind of ritual, especially in the summertime. When I'm at my beach house, I like to sip a cup of coffee, watch the boats on the water, and smoke a Connecticut cigar. And sometimes I want something a little different, but I don't really want anything a lot stronger. So we played around with the barber pole. We added the Maduro wrap to it. So the cigar has the same strength that the Bianca does. It just has a bit more of a cocoa-y, chocolatey nuance that then the Connecticut would not have because of that barber pole. So the Conforto is all about harmony. I named it because it's not a strong cigar. It's got a ton of flavor. It's one of our most popular. It's got a ton of flavor without a lot of strength, and it has a nice balance that is kind of sweet, earthy. It's got a little bit of everything going on a mild side.
Okay. And then you've got the Malay.
So the Malay was originally, I mentioned earlier when I first started this, and I had a Sumatra cigar, the Sumatra wrapper cigar. It was a good cigar, but it just didn't quite cut it for me. And then when ENEBES was born, I decided to shelve the Sumatra cigar and go back to the drawing board. And what now resulted in it, now you see the Malay, which is an Ecuadorian. The Malay is the Malaysian tiger, Ecuador, Malaysia, Sumatra, Malaysia. So it's my old Sumatra cigar with a tweaked binder filler combo in it. So it's got a little bit more punch to it. It still has that kind of like that sweet.
Chocolate, you described it as.
Yeah, it's got this. Well,
notes of cocoa.
The blend has this kind of look of worn leather, the wrapper, but it has this chocolatey, fruity, spicy thing. Sumatra blends, in my opinion, have this
beautiful
sweetness, sweet and spicy going on.
Yeah, I absolutely love Sumatra.
I do
absolutely
too.
love Sumatra.
I do too. I'm a big fan.
I love it more in the binder than I do on the wrapper, but
I've been really getting into of late. One of my hopefully soon projects coming down, probably not till next year, because I already have this year's stuff already in the pipeline. As I'm working with Cameroon in the binder now. I tend to like Cameroon binder.
By the way, Brian Lewis from out in California had asked, where are these rolled?
So these are rolled. These cigars are rolled in Nicaragua, and they are rolled in one factory in Nicaragua. The name of the factory is called American Caribbean.
Oh, then Kevin Schweitzer and Rockefeller. That's his factory too, and many other fine cigars come out. Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah. And what's interesting about American Caribbean is that they are. They roll for a lot of big brands like General and who not, but they do a lot of work for small guys like me, right? So they've been a wonderful partner for us. I've gotten to know them really, really well. And really, to be honest, I mean, without them and their support, we wouldn't even exist.
Okay. And I've heard only the best about that. And the cigars I've had from them have made very high ratings on my site, to be honest with you. Well, look, they know what they're doing.
Like a lot of factories, and they probably make for more. I don't know this as a fact, but I would bet you that out of all the factories in Nicaragua, they probably make cigars for more brands than anybody else.
Okay, I'm not going to dispute that,
and I'm not going to say it's true, but that's just I'm armchair quarterback.
They're probably a little bit like the El Artista in the Dominican Republic. They just make a lot of cigars for a lot of places. And the last one is the Fusion.
Yep, and that is a Dominican cigar.
These are Dominican. And where are these made?
That is being made at a very, very small family-run factory that I've begun a relationship with. I don't really want to say too much more about that one because I have some other things I'm doing with them that might change in a good way.
Good. All right. So at this point, I'm going to take one more commercial break because we went a little longer than we normally do. We take a commercial break now, and when we come back, I want to talk about your book.
Okay.
Okay, and then we'll wrap it up with some let's
Whatever
get
you
to
want.
know John. Let's get to know John a little better and
Uh-oh.
John.
Okay.
Okay. So uh, get this all queued up the right way this time so we can do this right. And yeah, and I'm gonna share the screen and sound, go here, and boom. And today's show is brought to you by Bocock Brothers Cigars, a new and active brand founded by two Honduran brothers, Bryant and Douglas Bocock. The brand zeroes in on those folks that are looking for easy to smoke cigars inspired by unusual circumstances. Very importantly named after their very interesting and imitable last name, Bocock. Right now, Bocock Brothers is featuring their signature edition, made at the AJ Fernandez factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. It features an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, a Nicaraguan Habano binder, and a Nicaraguan filler. Available in three popular formats, a Robusto, a Toro, and a Gordo. You can check out Bocock Brothers Cigars at www.bocockbrothers.com. And today's show is brought to you by Platinum Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova is a family owned and operated premium cigar company. Only the highest vintage tobacco and the most skilled hand workmanship go into the making of each Platinum Nova cigar. This results in a timeless blend of art and craftsmanship. The Nova brand and the family's work are a tribute and an honor to their grandfather to always remember him and his infinite passion for the finest cigars. Their love for cigars started with their grandfather, a dedicated master blender and entrepreneur in the cigar industry. So the next time you're looking for that exquisite cigar experience, pick up a Platinum Nova. You could check them out at Platinum Nova Cigars, www.novacigar.com, and on their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter channels.
This episode of Taking It to the Nub is sponsored by the Box Press Cigar app, the ultimate cigar smoking experience. With Box Pressed, you can easily catalog cigars with your own virtual humidor, quickly rate and record notes for any cigar using the Smoke Session feature, receive intelligent cigar recommendations based on your personal taste profile, and access exclusive discounts from top cigar brands. You can even shop your favorite cigars directly in the app, then automatically sync the order to your virtual humidor, plus so much more. Download Box Press today by typing bxpr.sd/install into any web browser and discover the world of cigars like never before. That's bxpr.sd/install. And today's show is brought to you by All Saints Cigars, a company founded in 2019 and headed up by industry veteran Mickey Pegg and his two friends, Martin Corboy, a successful restaurateur, and Frank Leo, an Air Force Academy graduate military veteran. As Mickey explains it, they were all sitting down talking and smoking cigars, and finally they decided that they would do this thing together. It was time. Mickey said, I decided if I'm going to work hard at it, it should be love. Besides, a tough day with a cigar is better than a great day doing anything else. Soon after, they began the process of launching All Saints Cigars, jokingly referring to themselves as the Holy Trinity, St. Michael, St. Martin, and St. Francis. They chose for their logo the cross of St. James, the patron saint of Nicaragua, the country where their cigars would be produced. You can check out All Saints Cigars at www.allsaintscigars.com.
All right, let's come back to John. Um, love my sponsors. Without them, the show's always a little harder to do.
Amen.
Pays the bills. Pay for Zoom. um, you, in addition to running a shop, playing in a band up and down the East Coast, having a family, you are in the process of writing a book.
Yep.
And that is fascinating to me. There are a lot of books that I collect on cigars,
Okay.
and your book is a book about the time traveler's guide to cigar culture. Let me just pop this up for everybody to see this.
Sure.
Okay. So I love the cover.
Yep.
Okay.
It's
I
our
think it
website. Our
is
website.
just, yeah, it's on your website. You're expecting to do this in April, it says. Is it ready? Have you written it? Is it done?
It's not done. Not
It's
done. Well, let me. It's done, but it's in second revisions, as it were.
Okay.
It's become it's taken on a life of its own of sorts.
Hmm.
And if you can imagine, especially in the little time that you've gotten to know me, I mean, you only get one chance to get this right, right? So,
Hmm.
um, I'm at a point now where we're still editing and cleaning things up, but like at some point, it's like I have to say, go. Because it's never going to be perfect,
Right.
even though you want it to be perfect, if that makes sense.
As an engineer, I can totally appreciate the fact that you got to shoot the engineer or the author and start the project.
So, I'm not an engineer, so I'm a creative guy. I'm a strategy guy. I could if I tilt my camera, I have a one entire wall in my office is a whiteboard, right? So
Hmm.
I whiteboard. I have in my whiteboard right now. I have this year's cigars that we're working on and some other projects. Like I don't stop, and
Right.
so yeah. So the book is close, and we still plan to have an April launch. Um, Let me just leave it at that. The plan is still to have an April launch.
Now, have you been inspired by any other books and authors on cigar culture when you did this?
Great question. The simple answer is no. Um, but I am inspired by dozens of people in this industry,
Mhm.
good and bad. I've been inspired in a positive way by many, and I've been uninspired by even more people in this industry, which we will not get into tonight, I promise you. But I continue to learn, as I've mentioned, and the thought about the book was when I came up with this whole ENEBES TABAC, and if you look at my bands and my brands, they're all different periods in time. Um, the Roaring Twenties, the 19th century, the ancient Orient, Byzantine religion. The fusion is taken off of the Manhattan Project, World War II. I've got a future cigar that I'm working like. So we got into this whole funky time travel thing, and then I started to do some as I start naming things. We started to do some history on cigars, and I was fascinated. Everybody knows Winston Churchill smoked a cigar, right? And everybody knows that John F. Kennedy smoked a cigar, and everybody knows that George Burns smoked a cigar. But there are so many people, like Marlene Dietrich was a famous cigar smoker. A lot of people don't know that, right? And,
Absolutely.
and I uncovered her whole story about that when I was playing around with my Gatsby and Speakeasy, right? So I started to learn more about the history of cigars, and what I also found is that it was really interesting that like the true birthplace of cigars, I've heard like three different versions, right? So I just decided to have a little fun with time travel and my brands. And we thought we were going to start doing stories around it. And then my marketing guy that you got to meet, Russell, he said, you have so much here. You could probably make this into a really unique book. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And we walk through so it's kind of like a guide. It's a guidebook of cigars, but not like the guidebooks that there are a handful of them. All right. It's
Hmm.
more about it's kind of a tide to the history of cigars, and we had a little fun with the time travel. So we talk a lot about the culture of the cigar, and we touched on it earlier, even as it pertains to the culture of a lounge, right? So cigar smoking as a hobby, or as an industry, or whatever you want to call it, there is a defined culture to cigar smoking, and I think that that is something that is spoken about a lot, not celebrated enough, and in some ways either misunderstood or not portrayed as well as it could be, if that makes any sense.
Okay, I can I can appreciate those comments. I've seen that,
Yeah,
and I think and having more knowledge. I'm a person that really truly wants to bring as much knowledge
Mhm.
to the consumer through my media outlets to help the consumers learn. Everybody's learning. You're learning. We never stop in this culture. We never stop learning. Okay, because as soon as you think you know it, suddenly there's something new. It's like, well, what I did, well, oh, that's how you do that. Oh, I didn't know that. And you keep learning things. Um, and sharing is caring and helping each other understand
Yeah.
what it's about. The new enthusiasts that get into the hobby, as you say, they start that way, and then eventually they grow and they learn. They become
Yep.
geeky like us,
Yeah.
and they start sharing their experiences, and
Yep.
they start sharing cigars with each other.
Yep.
um, does your book talk about lounge etiquette?
No.
You don't touch on any of that. You
No.
just basically touch on
It's like a
a
history book.
lot of, it's a history book
It's like a history
of
book.
cigars going back in time do you touch the future?
A little bit.
Oh,
A little bit.
so we take a little journey,
Yep.
forward in time and say
Yep.
where's it going to go?
And in fact, I have a cigar that is in the final stages of production. I'll give just a quick sneak peek. I don't know that it'll get rolled out this year, but I have a cigar that we're calling the Multiverse. That and that is going to have a bit of a matrixy kind of a vibe to it. Like the band and the brand around it is going to have a very matrix futuristic kind of a thing going on with it. So yeah, the book is like a history book that is all about the culture, and some fun facts that some people know and some people don't. Some stories. I'm still trying to finalize some, and one of the reasons why the book is not completely done is I'm trying to have a couple people that I'm trying to interview for the book that I would love to get
Okay.
their take on the future of this industry. If not, we'll do it without them. But I would love to include some industry experts that I hold in high regard. Um, and you know what? My whole story as a retailer and cigar maker is a bit not the store. I mean, it's a pretty conventional brick and mortar store, but ENEBES Tabac is sold directly to the consumer, right? And I have a program that is tied to retailers, although right now I have no retailers on my program. I have a program to protect retailers, but right now my brand is only sold direct to consumer, and that is very unconventional in an industry that is very stuck on tradition. I'm a bit. I don't want to say I don't want to call myself a disruptor, but I got to this point of selling my cigars direct to consumer because as a retailer, I learned that if I'm going to be successful, I can't put my cigars on the shelves of other retailers.
Well, I would say that's going to change. I'm going to give you a prediction of the future. All right. Talk some time travel. That's going to change a little over time
We'll give you a
because
special
like
chapter.
there's a brand that I'm endeared to. I absolutely love this brand. It's down in Key West, Florida, a company called Rodriguez Cigars. Rodriguez Cigars is the oldest running cigar factory in Key West. Been around since 1984, I believe.
Okay.
And I used to go down to Key West. I had a timeshare down there for years. Took the kids down every year right before the school year started. It was the last week of like summer. We just chilled out. After a while, I just chilled and just sat on the deck on a rocking chair, smoking cigars, drinking pina coladas, and told the family, "You guys do whatever you want to go do. I've seen enough of Key West, but I love being here and just listening to the water slap the thing." And then I would go out and always go down to this place, Rodriguez Cigars. It's the only place I would ever buy a cigar from in Key West, even to this day, because
Nice.
everything else is bullshit. Okay. The young man that has now owns it is the grandson of the original owner who had passed away. Now, his cigars are they're phenomenal. And because he's in Key West, he never needed to like branch out,
Right.
right? Because every week you get a whole new group of tourists.
Yep.
Every week of every year of every decade, there's like new people and some repeat people. And when they go and they discover it, they go back home to Michigan,
Yep.
Wisconsin,
Yep.
California, wherever it is, and they order directly from him.
Yep.
He expanded his lounge upstairs to have a complete room where it's an aging room with all his cigars are up there, right?
That's
He just
wonderful.
and he doesn't make them all there anymore, right? He
Sure.
still rolls, they still do hand rolls. He does tours in there. But this year is the first year he finally pulled the trigger. He's going to PCA because he now has taken it. He realized he could take it to the next level. He's ready. He wasn't ready. And for years I told him, man, you could go bigger because I don't need to. I got a captive audience. I mean,
Right.
everybody just keeps coming, right? And they keep ordering
Mhm.
direct to consumer.
Yep.
Going back to what he said. But he reached a point where he finally realized, you know what? People really appreciate what he has. These need to start showing up in shops around the country.
Yep.
And then he's going to be going to PCA for his first time. You'll be on that eventually. I predict you eventually will find your way in there because you're going to realize that you can only sell so many in your shop and so many online. And then eventually you want to branch and you want to get bigger. That's business. We want to grow.
So let me interject. And I think that's a great story, and I wish him nothing but great success. And I would tell you, I would never say that will never happen for us, but here's why, as a betting man, I would tell you that it's probably not. And this really was, and I mean this with sincerity, now let me put on my retailer hat for a minute. And I have some dear friends that are retailers. As a retailer myself, 80% of my business is locked into 6 brands in my store. And I only know that now because I was talking to somebody who actually carried my cigar and said to me, "Man, I love your cigar. I love them, but I can't sell them." And I said, "Well, why? I want to come down and do events and I want to help you." And he said, "John, 80% of my business is tied to 5 or 6 brands." And I get it. Okay. It's, Fuente, Padron, Jew Estate. You can name those 6 brands, right? Everybody can name them. We know,
right.
whoever your 6 anchor brands are, right? And in my brick and mortar store, it's Fuente and Padron and Jew Estates and My Father, and my brand obviously is one of my anchor brands. 20% of that business, the other 20%, is being fought over by everybody else. And so now this gentleman that I'm referring to that gave me this aha moment runs a store that does a couple $1 million of business a year. He's very, very successful. I'm not going to name names. He's very influential with PCA, and he's a good friend. He said, "John, 20% of my business, guys are fighting over crumbs." And I'm talking about guys like Tatuaje, Dunbarton,
Fighting for shelf space.
Right. Roma Craft, great, great boutique cigars, right? So a cigar brand, and it's interesting that you mentioned the gentleman from Rockefeller and some of these other guys that, like these guys that American Caribbean makes. They all make good cigars. They all have good cigars, but there's only so much real estate a brick and mortar store can provide to a brand.
That's
And
correct.
then you also have to be reliant on the people working at the store to sell that brand. So I'm sitting here going, my tiny, 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 infinitesimal little company is the pimple on an elephant's ass. There is a brick and mortar guy may love me. I might be the new guy to come in and they might reorder once. I can't compete, nor do I want to compete with guys like Pete Johnson and Steve Saka and Skip and Mike Rosal. And these guys are all friends and mentors of mine. They're all guys that have inspired me to this day to be what I am. But I'm going, my tiny little brand will not compete in that space. Is it impossible? No. Is what you're saying possible? Sure. But I don't know that I'll ever get there, and I don't know that I want to. And maybe I will. Maybe I will.
Yeah. You're a businessman.
And by the way, there's no right or wrong, right? I mean, like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. You have to choose your happy point in any business, right? You have to choose a happy point, and you have to choose the growth path, because you're at a certain point, you're making revenue, you're feeding your family, you're putting a roof over your house, you're enjoying your life. You expand, suddenly you got to do more things, hire more people, now suddenly the stress builds. Do you want that? Do you not want that?
for
How do you
sure.
balance it out, right?
For sure.
And you're
Well,
not
listen,
getting any younger. I know
well,
I'm not.
thank you for reminding me. I appreciate that. And like I said, I have a program in place to protect my retailers. I mean, my online price, because the worst thing you can do by selling direct to the consumer is then bringing in a retailer, and then all of a sudden now your online price is cheaper than they would sell it. My model is set that my retailers are protected and would never sell for less than it's sold on, never sell for more than is online. It's just it's about having the ability to sell the brand. And I see some of these small guys like me who are out there pounding the pavement. And by the way, if you want to do that and you want to pound the pavement, go right ahead. Those days are over for me. So
It takes a lot.
sure.
I know these guys that start these brands, the successful ones. To be a successful brand on a national market, I always tell people you got to be in about 300 shops.
Yep.
With consistent reorders.
Yep.
To be successful. Okay.
You
do
have to have
less
a
than
physical
that.
presence there. You have to be on the road. You have to have
And you've got to be on the road 200 something plus days a year.
Yep.
You got to be out there constantly doing it, or you have to have representation. And as you know, shops, they always want the brand owner, not the rep. The rep is cool. We love the reps. But you know what? Everybody wants to meet the brand owner because they're like mini rock stars. Everybody's a mini rock star, right? Look, this is my brand. Everybody wants to meet him and know his story. They hear it from the rep. It's cool. You have a fun event, but they still love seeing the guy that owns the brand.
For sure.
And that forces that person to go everywhere. And then if you branch too far, right? So you do the East Coast, you do Florida, Georgia, right? Carolinas.
I'm never saying never, but
out.
I'm never saying never. But like I also tell people that in order to do the PCA and take it on the road, and you have to have a much more sizable marketing budget, and you have to spend money. And where does that money? That's going to be reflected in the price of the cigar. Where else is the revenue going to come from?
That's correct. You're absolutely right. So
there's only one thing that's going to feed the fire, and that's the cigar.
That's it. And cigars will speak for themselves. I always tell that to people. I mean, you get a cigar, it's either going to be what you like or what you don't like. Yeah. And the first time you try, you don't like it, you may not buy another one. All right. If you love it, you might buy more.
And there is no
or
wrong or right. I mean, everybody's model is different. That's why we talked earlier about, you know, people that poo-poo other brands and they talk badly about brands. Like, to me, we're all in this together. I applaud whatever model a company takes. I think, hey, listen, as long as you can put your head on your pillow at night and you're doing what you think is the right thing, then. And at
exactly.
the end of the day, my brand doesn't. You know, I really appreciate being on the show. I'm a tiny little company that has aspirations to become more. What and how, Jimmie, we'll see. Maybe you'll be right.
Well, when I get back, I still have family in New York, and I probably have to. My son actually and his fiance live in Long Island now, so I have to make some more trips up there.
There you go.
Um, so I'm like, if I get up there, maybe I got to get to Monmouth and come out and visit you,
There you
because
go.
I review one of the things I do on my site, which distinguishes me a little bit from others. Besides cigar reviews and news and all the normal, I review lounges.
I saw. I saw.
Okay. And I love going into a lounge. I love taking what I really love is walking into a lounge unannounced,
Yeah.
sit there, just be the average Joe, buy the cigar,
Yep.
sit back, smoke it, and take in the vibe, and then break out the camera and start taking pictures and then introduce myself, okay, who I
That's
am,
got to be awesome.
right?
That's got to
Because
be
I want to know the vibe. I want to
sure.
know if the guy sitting next to me,
Hey, you don't want them to put it on. You want it to be
is he
natural.
willing to be in a conversation?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
does he want to talk about something? Or is
Yeah.
he like, you know, So
Totally.
that I love doing that. I love how I
I
just
think that's
so much
awesome.
enjoy lounges all around the world, wherever
I
I
think
go.
that's great.
Whenever I went on business, I had
Yeah.
always, I would
I
go on
did
a
it big.
business trip, and the first thing I would do is say, okay, where am I going?
Right. And where can I
Where's
get
the
the car?
cigar lounge?
Yep.
And now my hotel is going to be closer to the cigar lounge than it
In your
is
office.
to
Yeah. The
the
client.
office I'm going to. All right.
Yep.
And that's how I managed
I
for
did the same for
many.
years. I did the same. And you know, I've been blessed. I made friends all over the world, all because of this.
What did you do? What did you do? Let's talk a little bit about what did you do? What was your line of work?
Yeah, so I've been a bit of a renaissance man again. I mean, I was in the construction industry for a while, more on the construction and design side. Um, Started out in a small family business as a young man. Went into kind of commercial construction for a while. Left that, went into a bit of a facilities management endeavor, and then that got me into the energy business.
Oh,
When I was in the energy business, I wound up traveling all over the world. Started getting again, got older, escalated my skill set, got involved on mergers and acquisitions, got involved in the renewable energy business. I lived in California for a while. Um, I helped buy and sell companies all over the world. I speak a couple of languages too. That was partly by childhood and then partly through work. And then from the energy business, I actually, because the renewable energy business had such a big technology component to it, I actually pivoted from, I wound up getting a company acquired, took a package, left that, got involved in the technology business. I worked within the Salesforce ecosystem, if you're familiar with the company
okay. Yep.
Salesforce. Yep.
Absolutely.
Worked
Absolutely. Yeah.
worked pretty high up in their food chain. And then actually, believe it or not, and this is how I got into the cigar business, I actually invented a software. Now, when I say invented, you know, you immediately think of the mad scientist, right? But I go
You
back to,
conceived it. You conceived it, and
it
you
was
went
on
to
my
the
whiteboard.
people that
On
right.
it was on my whiteboard. I basically came up with a concept. I took a picture of the concept, sent it to my boss who was in the UK. He basically, what is this? Walked him through it. He thought it was a great idea. We wound up both sinking money into it, built a prototype, and then sold it off because it was technology is a very long play. And then I
Oh
need,
yeah.
and I still do some consulting on the side, um, but really wanted to now focus on my music and then that's how I got into cigars. I mean, it was like,
Yeah.
what do I do now? Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to open up a cigar business, and here I am today. It's crazy.
My my
It's
my
crazy.
wife my wife joked when I retired. She goes, "Now that you're retired, what you really ought to do is create the next shiny penny."
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, because I for 23 years, so I'm an engineer. Went everything from I'm an electrical engineer, master degree electrical engineer,
nice.
mostly in digital electronics back in the day. Um, got into big system stuff, Northrop Grumman, weapon systems, things like that. And then I got into the Siemens Corporation through a bunch of mergers and acquisitions of companies I work for, and I was developing what we call solutions, and they had applications that manage all enterprise-wide solutions. They were the largest industrial software company in the world, Siemens,
Wow.
meaning that they develop solutions that manage everything from the requirements and the ideas all the way through the simulation, all the way through the manufacturing, and everything is all integrated, connected, three-dimensional. You can literally go in and change a parameter. Say you had a car
Uh-huh.
and you wanted to get that car the current model goes 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds.
Okay.
And you said, well, you know what? Market says we got to go to 3.4 seconds. So you could plug in 3.4 seconds and the system will come up and tell you all the things that you can change to achieve that.
That's cool.
All right. And then once you do that, and then now they're plugging AI into it now that I've
Yep.
retired, is that they're going even deeper. And I absolutely enjoy doing this.
Nice.
Work with companies all around the world, the biggest companies in the world I work with, and just saw so many different processes. So I was basically looked at engineering how do you do it, and how do I apply our software to make your process more efficient, so engineers can make their decisions faster, and you can shorten that timeline from concept to delivery.
Interesting.
And very successful at doing this.
We're using a
Had so
lot of
much fun.
AI with what you see on our website. A lot of that is we're using a lot of AI with what we're doing, and AI has been a big tool that we're using with the book as well.
And it, you know, and people downplay it. I will say this, as a technologist, I truly believe we're moving a little too fast.
I don't
I think
disagree.
there needs, I think we need to step back a second and see where it's going and what the usages of it are. Because when you start adding AI
Yep.
to robotics and you create mechanized things that are helpful for humans,
Yep.
and then it applies to
Excuse me.
military, and then the military flips the bit, and now the robot's allowed to destroy humans.
Yeah. I
What
think
happens
AI is a
what
great
happens what
augmenter,
happens
but
when
not. Yeah.
this what happens when the cyber
Yep.
attack
Yep.
addresses the home robot and turns it into a violent robot, which it's not supposed to do, but it's a bit flip that does that. Anyway, that's all. We could go into that path all we want.
For sure.
Really quick before we close out,
Yeah.
we'll talk about music here for a second. So you
Sure.
are a musician,
I am.
okay? You've got lots of guitars. What is your genre of music that you most love, or what you perform to?
So the music that I love is really all over the map. I music was something that was introduced to me very early in my life. My mom was a um, sang for the Metropolitan Opera in New York City,
Oh,
and also sang for with RCA Records in the 50s. So music was something that was kind of introduced into my household at a very early age. Um, I picked up a guitar pretty at a pretty young age, and my love of music really is pretty wide. I mean, I like jazz. I even like some classical music. Um, from a performing standpoint, I actually play in two tribute bands. So I don't do any original music because I'm not that talented. I'm a talented performer, but I'm not a talented writer. Uh, so I play in I'm a lead singer in a U2 tribute band, believe it or not. So I play,
that's
I play,
amazing. So you sound like Bono?
Well, I try to
Give
sound
me a
like
little Bono. Give me a little Bono just for the
you're
fun.
not.
Come on.
I'm not singing for you, Jimmie. We whoever many people are listening, we don't want to drive them away. But the
Come on,
band is
come on, come
called.
on. You're in a tribute band. You gotta just give me like just
No, no,
one
no.
verse of your favorite YouTube song.
It's not going to happen tonight.
Favorite YouTube. Ah, come on, come on, come on,
No.
come on, come on.
I
Reach
like
me the
and I
soul.
like you two a lot. So I am the Bono character. My friends call me Jono for that. And
Jono.
Jono, yeah. And the name of the
Have
band
you
is
ever met him?
not personally, no, I've not.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
and the name of our band is called Almost You Two. So we are a
Almost
tribute band, and we
YouTube.
play up and down the East Coast. And then my other project that is relatively new. It's about a year old now. And I play guitar and lead sing on this project. And our project is called Saltwater Country. So we are kind of a Kenny Chesney, Jimmy Buffett, Tim McGraw, like a little, it's like country rock, pop, beach, island, reggae, like a big party, like a big summer party on stage.
I love
And
it.
we're a 7-piece band with a couple of fiddles and piano, and we have a lot of fun with that music. So
So you haven't had taken the chance to go out to Vegas to go to the
the
Sphere
Sphere.
and go see you too?
Yeah, actually, two of my bandmates have. I have not. Um, I have not. So I have seen you two a number of times live. Um, but I've not gone to the Sphere. I will be in Vegas. I will be at PCA. So
Okay, I'll see you there. Look
yeah,
me
yeah,
up.
I'll be and we'll exchange cell phone numbers at some point, Jimmie. We are not exhibiting obviously at PCA. I will be there meeting with my vendors for my store, and then
You're going as a retailer.
yeah, I'm also going as for ENEBES as well. I have some meetings set up with some people, some other factories. I'm a big believer, and this is no disrespect to American Caribbean because and the small factory in the Dominican that we're working with. I'm a big believer in not putting all my eggs in one basket. Um,
Can't. I
uh,
mean, how are you handling? I didn't ask this question earlier, and I
sure,
probably should have, but you just
sure,
brought it up because you kind of breached it a little bit.
sure.
So I just saw the first notice. So Gurkha Cigars
Yeah.
um, was the first one to acknowledge in a press
Uh-huh.
release that they are suspending one of their lines because of the problems with tobacco out of Ecuador. Ecuador's got big problems right now. Are
Well,
you experiencing
I
any
don't
of
think
that?
it's a problem with the tobacco. I think it's a problem with the country.
No, it's both because they had all these rains. They had a terrible crop last year.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was actually in Ecuador last year. So I was in Ecuador. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah, last year. We're in February. I was in Ecuador in September of last year. So um yeah, they've had a tough season. The Oliva family is probably one of the biggest growers there in Ecuador. I know that business and crops and harvest has been tough there. And then throw on top of that the tragic political climate that's going on there.
Right.
Um, it's a tough place. But here's the thing, and this is no disrespect. I love my Nicaraguan family that we have there. I mean, um, Nicaragua is far more stable than it's ever been. Um, but it is. I personally think that there's still a delicate balance going on in that country. I mean,
Of course.
um, and I think as a businessman, I'm a tiny little businessman, so any little blip off skew affects me far more impactfully than somebody like a
So you
Placencia
got to
or a
hedge. You
man
have to
is.
hedge. You're not the only one I know
Yeah,
that has, a lot of presence in Nicaragua, but they've also started over the last couple of years to start working with some folks in the Dominican. Okay, like if what I find most interesting is you know Francisco Almonte, right?
sure.
Okay, so Francisco just had his 10-year
Yep,
anniversary, built brand new factory. One
yep.
of his cigars he came out with, which I thought was actually an interesting thing. he came out with the DBL Nicaragua.
Mhm.
It's all made at his factory. It's a Puro, which
Yeah, but
is I
because
thought
he's
was
a
a
factory.
little, yeah, but I thought that was, from what I understood about the Dominican,
Hmm.
is that if you're going to export cigars
Hmm.
out of the Dominican,
Hmm.
there has to be at least a certain amount of Dominican tobacco in the cigar.
Well,
That's how it was explained to me years ago. And that might have changed.
well, I would tell you that that immediately is above my pay grade. Look, I'm one thing I'm like if I don't know the answer to something, I'm going to tell you I don't know the answer. I have no idea. But like for me, with the guys that I'm working with in Nicaragua, it's a rolling factory, right? So these guys are buying product from everywhere. You know, Costa Rica, Peru, Mexico, Cuba, everywhere. They're buying from everywhere, right? Um,
You got a whole spice cabinet to pick from, and you're
yeah,
picking this, 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 and this, and you're building
I'm not
something.
farm to table. I'm a rolling. We're not me. They are a rolling
Rolling
factory.
back.
So
Correct.
for me, what I do now with them is, as I've escalated my lines now, I'm 9 lines, 9 lines with another 3 coming down the pike this calendar year. Is I have routine calls with them about some of the products, raw materials that they're buying, right? And that gives me a little bit of a inspiration of sorts as to maybe what we might play around with,
Right.
like this Colorado Claro that I was smoking tonight. Um, so yeah, I mean it's it's an interesting world, and I give guys I have I have mad respect for anybody that's doing a killer job there. I mean the guys at Oveja Negra, the Browns, uh,
Oh my God. Right.
What Skip and Mike are doing at Roma Craft. I mean, AJ is a legend, for a lot of good reasons. What the Placencia family has done, I mean, and then the 800-pound gorilla in the room that everybody knows about but nobody talks about because they just do a fucking perfect job every time is Padron, right? I mean, this is a family that has no sales reps. They have,
Right.
they do no marketing. Like they just make a freaking
Good.
great cigar all the
That's
time.
it.
So I have mad respect, and so as a tiny little guy, I have the I'm blessed, right? That I can, as a retailer, I can establish relationships with these people and learn some of their uh, methods, maybe, or processes, and try in my own tiny little way to kind of glean some intel off of them. I mean, like Pete Johnson. Pete is. You want to talk about a rock star in the business? I mean, the guy is
It's
mad respect for these. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
right.
The flip side, by the way, and this is, I'll just say this and then we will elaborate. The flip side is that as a hobbyist, when I came into this business and I was so enamored with culture and community and La Familia and all for one and a brotherhood, I was not brokenhearted because that sounds a little too emotional, but I was really disappointed by how there was so much bullshit. There was so much of that was complete and utter bullshit from these people that have these online personas of this, oh my god, this brotherhood, and they're just, I make a comment that they're worshipped by fools. um it was humbling. I was like, what?
Let's
Wow.
be real. For me, everybody that makes cigars, the primary reason for making cigars is to keep those farmers employed and keep producing tobacco.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
And they're going to do everything they can to help sell tobacco
No,
because
I don't disagree.
that's the key. That's the key to everything.
By the way, you are making me, I am beyond honored watching you smoke that cigar with a clip right now.
I'm going to tell you, it's a very earthy cigar. There's a lot of earth in this.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Well, that's what you
Um,
wanted, you said.
So we'll see. I'll have to talk to y'all later about everything, my thoughts on it and how it goes. I can't write a review on it because I've been smoking it, so I have writing notes right now.
I understand.
But anyway,
if you didn't like it, you wouldn't be clipping it like that.
well, you never know.
Okay. Well, then you're a better actor than I would be then.
You'd be surprised, but I'll be honest, it's a good cigar. But I'll tell you this, I get cigars sometimes where because I have to review it, I
Yep.
have to take it
I know.
as far as I can
Right.
and just see
But you didn't have to do that tonight.
which
That's why
transition
I'm honored.
is it dealing with something, and I have to just really like say,
In contrast,
man.
here's my cigar that I started, okay? That's why it's a prototype.
So anyway, okay, so we're at the hour and a half mark.
Yeah, I apologize.
I really appreciate you
Yeah.
coming on,
Thank you so
taking your
much for having me.
Friday. I'll give you the last word.
Mad thanks for having me. It was an honor. I'm still learning, so I'm grateful, and thanks for giving a tiny little guy like me some airtime.
All right. All right, folks. Anybody that's watching now or in the future, that's the show for this week. Next week, I might have a show, but I'm going to be at the Great Smoke on Saturday, so that's going to probably consume my time down there. If I can find somebody for a Friday night again, I'll do it. Otherwise, it'll be the beginning of March. With that, this show is a wrap.